Hello, my good friends. Mike Shreeve here, founder and head troublemaker of the NoPantsProject.com. You are listening to episode 6 of the No Pants Show, where we're talking about what to do when it all falls apart. I am hoping this won't be too somber of a podcast. I don't actually have any notes, which is unlike the other podcasts. I'm shooting from the hip here with the goal that it will strike a chord with someone who might be struggling at this particular moment in their own valley of despair, in their own moment of struggle. I hope that I can give you some tools that I've learned from my own various valley of despair moments. And I don't expect you to use all the tools that I'll provide you, because I think one of the key things to understand about having your low point is that it's yours. In that oftentimes the low points that we experience are custom tailored. Either they are a result of choices we made, or they are a result of weaknesses we might have, or it is the result of an environment in which we find ourselves in. Either way, the way out of those moments, the way out of being in the bottom, is so unique to us as an individual. Because if it's your choices that got you there, you have to make new choices. If it's the environment that got you there, you have to change your environment. And etc., and etc. That said, there are some things I can provide and share with you to help you, especially when it comes to getting clarity. Because if you're anything like me, when you get to these low points, everything becomes very confusing. Oftentimes we get to low points because things we thought were going to happen didn't happen, or they happened so differently than we expected that we feel blindsided. And in this moment of being blindsided, it's very easy to have a shift in expectation, a shift in understanding. How many times have you been in a sort of bottom of the barrel, valley of despair moment, and all of a sudden your eyes were open to maybe some of the people that were around you aren't the people that you thought they were? That's the kind of shift that I'm talking about. Your reality can change in the valley of despair. So what I want to be able to do for you today is to provide you some tools of clarity. The first thing that I do whenever I am down, I go to my core people. For me, that's my wife and my kids, period. I've been doing this for 10 years, this business thing, to know whose opinion actually matters. A lot of mistakes I see people making when they're in the bottom and they're struggling and they don't know how to get out is they start looking for additional opinions. They increase the inputs that are in their brain. That doesn't lead to clarity. When you increase inputs, you have a wider range of opportunity, a wider range of possibility, a wider range of potential ways out, which seems like a good idea, except that the only way out is through action. it's very difficult to take action on 10 things at a time. And it's even more difficult to take action on somebody's suggestion when they don't have the full context. You know who has the full context of nearly every situation I've ever been in? My wife. Do you know who doesn't? My coach. Do you know who doesn't? A consultant. Do you know who doesn't? A random stranger on the internet. Do you know who doesn't? A YouTube video from somebody who isn't even having a conversation with me. They don't understand the context. They don't understand what's going on in that moment. They don't know that this is a result of something that happened to me when I was a kid, or this is a result of 5 choices I made. They don't understand that. And so their advice, while it may be from their heart and it may be pure and it may be good and it may be amazing, their advice is not going to help me in this context. So the first thing that I do is I go to my people. And I sit down and I have a conversation. Mostly this is with my wife, but I just surround myself with my kids. Just as a reminder of what is really, really, truly important. Because remember, when we're in the valley of despair, when we're in the bottom moment of our lives, everything's very confusing. I go to my people so that I can be reminded of what is important. Because there sure are a lot of distractions that will tell me what I should think is important. But in reality, there are only a few things that actually are important. So I go to my people. The conversation I have is I say, here's the situation. I tell the truth. If I want clarity, I cannot add confusion to the equation by lying about what the situation actually is. And so when I have that conversation with my people, it starts with honesty. It starts with sharing that experience. And it starts with letting my guard down. Being open, raw, honest with the people who matter. Second thing I do is I brain dump everything that's in my head. You may have heard me talk about that on an episode in the past. Basically, whatever's in my head, put it on a piece of paper. Get it out of my head. I'm looking for clarity. Clarity makes action very easy. If I know exactly what I need to do to get out of my situation, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I don't like being in the valley of despair. So the challenge isn't the action to get out, it's figuring out what the clear path is. So I need to clear my mind by taking all these thoughts, all these ideas, all these potentials, and just putting them on a piece of paper. Quit trying to hold on to it all in my brain. Then I take a concept, which is a goal-setting concept, but you can actually use it to create clarity. It's a goal-setting concept that comes from this story. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't think the people who share this story think it's true or not. I don't even really know, but it's an interesting story. Warren Buffett had a private pilot who wanted to do something other than being a private pilot for Warren Buffett, as you can imagine. Warren said, I'd love to help you do whatever it is that you want to do. Let's do a goal-setting activity together. He made the pilot write down 25 things that the pilot wanted to do in his life. Want to have a good family, want to go to this place, want to do that thing, want to start this business, want to do this, want to do that, want to do this, want to do that. Then Warren simply said, I want you to choose 3 of those things. 3 or 5, depending on what version of a story you hear. But 3 of those things, circle them. Whatever the things are that you want the most. Okay, 1, 2, 3. The other 22 things, I don't want you to ever look at again. This is a concept of extreme focus. When we are in a state of confusion and we are in a state of being at the bottom and we need results as fast as possible, you cannot find clarity in blurred vision, trying to look at 50 things at once. You need to choose one thing, two things, maybe three things at most, and look at only those things. Just imagine trying to read an entire page of a book in one glance instead of how you actually read, which is one letter, one word at a time, left to right. And that's how you actually can focus, is when you take all of the potential possibilities and you focus and choose only on two or three. Honestly, if I were you, one. What is the one action I can take? Not tomorrow, not in a week, right now. What is the thing I can do right now? After you brain dump and identify what that one or two or maybe maximum three things is that you can do to get out of wherever it is that you're in, you need to shut off all of your distractions. I'm reading some very interesting books right now about the design of social media. Reading a really good book by Cal Newport about basically why you need to get off social media. Another really good book by a former New York Times reporter or maybe it was Wall Street Journal reporter, who basically went into the world of technology and found out things like Steve Jobs didn't even allow his children to have an iPad when he was selling it from the stage as the best thing ever invented, because he knew how damaging it would be for his children, and he wanted his children to be able to succeed in this world. And these devices, these platforms are designed to distract. I apologize for being so, I don't know what the word would be, more intense than usual in this particular episode. But if you are in the valley of despair and you're listening to this episode, I am not going to sugarcoat things for you. That would be a disservice. You're not going to find your answer by scrolling Facebook. You're not going to find your answer by looking at YouTube and reading YouTube comments. Reddit won't help you. Instagram has nothing for you. You must remove yourself from distractions. These social media platforms were not designed to help you succeed. They do not cater to our better nature. They are specifically designed by very intelligent people to prey on our insecurities, fear of loss, fear of missing out, anxiety, jealousy, virtue signaling, all of these different things which reward talking, which reward thinking, rather than reward doing. They reward posturing rather than creating. They reward volume rather than quality. You have to eject that poison temporarily if you are in a situation where you need things to work yesterday. So once you reject that, and let me be clear, I'm not talking about deleting all of your accounts. I'm not even talking about necessarily getting off Facebook if you use Facebook for the next piece that I like to use, which is I go to my communities and I start asking every question I can, regardless of how embarrassed I might be to ask, and I get as much help as I possibly can on those 1 to 3 things so that I can accelerate my results instead of trying to come up with it all by myself. So for example, if you are in the No Pants Project mentoring program, we have more than 5 hours a week of Q&As. We have 7 coaches in the program. If you are in a position where you need stuff to work yesterday, identify the 1 to 3 things that you need help with. Start asking, even if it makes you look silly. The valley of despair is not where pride's not going to help you there. Just tell pride, be like, look, I'll check back in with you later. For now, okay, I need you to not be preventing me from getting what I need. Go to your communities and get the help that you need. Don't try to do stuff by yourself. I am telling you this from experience. 5th thing, and this is going to be the thing that's going to turn everybody off if you haven't already been turned off. I told you I wasn't going to sugarcoat this. If you are in the valley of despair and you need stuff to work, the key word is work. The valley of despair is not the time to try to be tricky. Look at low risk, which often means boring and hard to do. Look at low risk opportunities. Don't get caught up in shiny object. Don't get caught up in what's the latest, greatest 57-step funnel, blah, 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 blah. The more complex something is, the more quote-unquote trendy it is, the riskier it becomes. When you're in the valley of despair, that is not the time to be engaged in high-risk activities. And you may say, well, Mike, what about all the advice where they say, when you have nothing to lose, go for it? Yeah, when you have nothing to lose, do the low-risk thing. Go for it with the low-risk thing. Put all that energy into the thing that is a higher guarantee of results. When you have no money in the bank, don't spend it on Facebook ads. Send out cold emails. But I don't want to send out cold emails. I know you don't want to send out cold emails. I know it. I know you don't want to send out cold LinkedIn messages. What I'm saying is, you don't have to do it forever. But if you're in the valley of despair, it costs nothing to do. You can do it right now. There's 0 barrier of entry. And it allows you to focus on something in which you have complete control, which is effort towards a simple action that is low risk, high reward, proven to work. The last thing that I do when I am in the valley of despair, after I've done all these other things, I've met with my people, I've brain dumped everything that I need to do, I've chosen the 1 or 2 or 3 things I need to do, I've reached out to my communities to get help, and I have various communities. For me, it's masterminds everywhere. When I have begun the process of putting a tremendous amount of work effort into the thing that will get me out of the valley of despair, knowing that it's not the thing I'm going to do forever. I don't want it to be the thing that I do forever. as I'm doing it, I know it's not going to be the thing I'm doing forever. I'm just doing it for this particular stage in my life. The last thing that I do is I journal the entire process with deep analysis, both so that I can save myself mentally, because this can be a very excruciating process, and journaling is a very good way to just think things out on paper, but secondly, so that I don't make this mistake again. I hope that something I've said in this podcast helps someone who is in this situation. I've been in that situation before. Life tends to be cyclical, so I'm probably going to be in that situation again. These simple things are what have been able to help me get through that phase every single time, and will likely serve me into the future. I hope that they serve you as well. That's it, my dear friends, for today's episode. Again, I hope that it serves someone. I will see you tomorrow for Sunday's episode. Will hopefully be a little bit less somber, a little bit more upbeat, but let's be honest, let's be real. It isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes we need this kind of advice, sometimes we need this kind of information, because sometimes this is what's going on. Okay, my friends, until next time, this is Mike Shreeve, and I'll see you tomorrow.